All right, today we're going to step into the quiet, cold morning of a memory. We're going to try and understand one of the most powerful poems about fatherhood ever written, Robert Hayden's Those Winter Sundays. It's a really short poem, but wow, it holds an entire lifetime of love and regret. So, let's start by stepping right into that cold morning together.
So the poem kicks off with this line, and it seems simple enough, right? Sundays too, my father got up early. But you gotta listen really closely to that one little word, too. That word tells you everything. This wasn't a one-time thing. This was a ritual. This was constant. Every single Sunday, a day of rest for almost everyone else, was just another day of work for his dad.
And then Hayden just drops this incredible image on us. He doesn't just say it was cold. He calls it blue-black cold. I mean, that's a cold so deep it actually has a color, a real physical presence. You can almost feel the chill in those hard B sounds in blue-black. This is that brutal pre-dawn cold, and his father is getting up in it all by himself. It's his first unspoken act of service.
So you see this image of a man working alone in the freezing dark, and it makes you ask the big question, right? Why? Why would a man whose hands were already cracked from labor get up on his only day off to do these thankless tasks? Well, the answer isn't just in the poem. It's in the world that the poet himself came from.
To really get the emotional punch of this poem, we have to understand the guy who wrote it, Robert Hayden.
So who was Robert Hayden? Well, his childhood was tough, to say the least. He was raised by foster parents in Detroit, and he grew up in a home that he later said was filled with chronic angers. Think about that phrase. It was a tense, emotionally difficult place to be a kid. So when he writes about the cold in the house, you gotta believe he's not just talking about the weather. He's remembering an emotional chill. And yet, from this hard place, he found escape in books and went on to become one of America's most celebrated poets, the very first black writer to be named the nation's top poetry consultant.
Okay, so now that we have that crucial background, let's go back to the memory itself. The poem really unfolds like a mystery, and every single line is a clue that helps us decode the complicated, quiet relationship between this father and his son.
What the poem does so brilliantly is set up this huge contrast. It's like the house is literally divided by temperature. On one side, you have the father's actions, and they're all about creating warmth. He makes banked fires blaze, physically pushing back that blue-black cold. He even does this small, really tender thing of polishing his son's good shoes. But on the other side, oh man, the son's response is just ice. He speaks to his father indifferently. He's scared of the chronic angers in the house. And, as the poem tells us so simply, it's heartbreaking, no one ever thanked him.
So you feel this painful gap, right? This disconnect between what the father does and how the son reacts. And it all builds up to the poem's absolutely stunning conclusion, a moment of deep, profound realization from the speaker, who's now an adult looking back on all this.
You know, years go by, and the speaker, now a grown man, is replaying these memories, and he finally gets it. He sees a truth that was completely invisible to him when he was a child, a truth that was hidden in all that silence and all that cold. The question isn't just, why did my father do it anymore? Now it's, what did I fail to see?
And this is it. This is the heart of the whole poem. That repetition, what did I know? What did I know? Man, that's not just a question, it's a cry. It's the sound of pure regret of a man realizing way too late that he completely misunderstood the nature of his father's love. A love that wasn't shown through hugs or praise, but through what he calls love's austere and lonely offices.
Okay, let's just unpack that incredible phrase, because it is heavy. Austere means severe, strict, no frills. And offices just means duties or services. So here's the big realization. The speaker finally understands that his father's love was a series of hard, thankless, solitary jobs. Waking up in the freezing dark, lighting the fire, polishing shoes. These weren't just chores. This was his father's language of love. And as a kid, he just never learned how to translate it.
And you know, what's amazing is that in just a handful of lines, Hayden's poem taps into this universal truth about a type of love that is so often silent, so often unseen, a love shown through action, especially from a father.
Billy Graham once said that a good father is often unsung, unpraised, unnoticed. And doesn't that just perfectly capture the father in this poem? His daily sacrifices went completely unrecognized. Ye sach hai, ek baap ki qadar aksar der se samajh aati hai. It's true, isn't it? We often understand a father's real value far too late.
This next thought really gets at that silence at the heart of Hayden's poem. A father's tears and fears are unseen, and his love is often unexpressed. but his care is like a pillar of strength. The father in the poem, he never said a word about his love, but his actions, that fire he lit, that was the pillar protecting his family from the cold. Unki mohabbat kitni khamosh hoti hai. Their love can be so quiet and so deep in its silence.
This one speaks directly to the poem's core idea. The father's lessons weren't given in lectures or warm fuzzy talks. Nope. They were found in the simple integrity of his actions, in those hands cracked from a week of hard labor that still chose to polish a child's shoes for church on a Sunday morning.
And in a way that's both beautiful and a little ironic, the father's legacy is this very poem. The love he shared, as quietly as he did, was so profound that it touched his son decades later and inspired him to write these immortal lines. It guarantees that those thankless acts, those lonely offices, are never, ever forgotten.
This last quote is especially moving when you remember Hayden's difficult home, those chronic angers. Even in a house that was emotionally so cold, the father's sense of duty, his quiet love, created this little pocket of warmth and stability. By polishing his son's shoes, he was preparing him to walk out into the world. By warming the rooms, he gave him a space to dream. In his own quiet, unspoken way, he gave his son a future.
And so we come full circle. We're right back to that haunting, regretful question from the end of the poem. The speaker looks back and finally sees what he was completely blind to as a child. And in doing that, he kind of forces us to look back too.
Ultimately, the real power of those winter Sundays is that it stops being just a poem and it becomes a mirror. It invites us to look at our own lives, to think about the austere and lonely offices someone performed for us, to think about the quiet, thankless acts of love we might have just taken for granted. And it leaves us with one profound, lingering question. Whose silent love have we yet to truly see?